Drug abuse can be a terrible personal tragedy, but the government has elevated personal tragedies into a national crisis by its second attempt at prohibition. The first attempt, alcohol prohibition in the 1920s, was a terrible failure, and the second attempt, drug prohibition, has been even worse. It has caused drug use to escalate, and it has produced the worst crime wave since the 1920s. Teenage drug use is now many times greater than before the drug war started. And despite recent reports of reduced crime, the murder rate is still twice what it was before the drug war began. Some parts of cities are war zones, and thousands of innocent people have died. The dead include people who never used drugs and never sold them, but who died in mistaken drug busts, in the crossfire of gang warfare, or in the violence the drug war has brought to our cities.
But many people feel that if drugs were made legal and more readily available, that such violence might even increase.
Well, before there were drug laws, there were very few drug problems. There was no criminal market in drugs, no muggers trying to support a $100 a day habit, no pushers trying to hook your children on drugs, no gang warfare, no crack babies, no epidemic of overdoses. These things began in earnest in the 1960s when the drug war created a huge black market for criminals to fight over. There are no violent gangs fighting over alcohol or tobacco or pharmaceutical territories. That's because people can buy these products at low prices from legal companies, so criminals have no interest in them. But when drugs are illegal, there's no legal competition to undersell the criminal gangs, and so the gangs fight over the wealthy drug territories. But the good news is that the drug war is living on borrowed time. We asked people all over America, what do you think of the war on drugs?
I think the war on drugs is a sham.
It's a joke.
It's a failure.
I think it's ineffective. I think it's hypocritical.
It's long, it's costly, and there's got to be a better way.
I think it's foolishness. I think we're blowing a lot of money for nothing because it looks good.
We're spending billions and billions. It doesn't seem to be getting us anywhere.
It's been going on forever, and it's a lost cause. You know, I agree, because if you look back at prohibition, I think as far as history repeating itself, that's probably what's going to happen, because if they prohibit drug use, it's going to cause, I think, more violence than anything else.
I feel that drugs should be legalized. Some drugs should be legalized, and we will probably have a lot less crime as a result.
I'm not for marijuana, I don't care, but I think there's plenty of other things we need to be focused on.
The police time and law enforcement is spent on drugs, and if it wasn't spent on that, it would be spent on things that I think are more important, violent crimes and things of that sort.
But what war on drugs? You can buy drugs on the next corner if you want to. What war?
It was once assumed that anyone who opposed the drug war must want to do drugs. But today there's widespread understanding that the drug war is an immense failure.
But if drugs were legal again, don't you think drug use would increase?
Well, it's possible, but it isn't very likely. When alcohol prohibition ended in 1933, America didn't become a nation of alcoholics. There always will be some people who will try drugs. The drug war has escalated that by turning the market over to criminals.
It seems like the drug wars contributed to the growth of government.
Oh, yes. And what's more, the politicians use the drug war to justify invading your life. Treasury agents snoop in your bank records looking for suspicious transactions. Republican and Democratic judges allow SWAT teams to invade your home to search for drugs based only on an anonymous tip, perhaps a tip from someone who just happens to dislike you. Police can now stop your car and tear it apart looking for drugs on the flimsiest pretext. The police can take away your car or even your home without convicting you of a crime. They can order you to remove your clothes at an airport to search you for drugs. These things don't happen only to junkies and drug dealers. They happen to people just like you and me. Some are completely innocent. Some may have been involved in a single drug incident. If your child should make one silly mistake and be caught, it could mean a prison term of 10, 15, 25 years.
And meanwhile, many violent criminals get out of prison early.
Oh, yes. Prisons overcrowded with drug cases don't have room for the truly violent criminals. The murderers, the rapists, and child molesters, they get out early through plea bargains and early releases just to make room for someone who was caught smoking marijuana. If I'm elected president, on my first day in office, I will give an unconditional pardon to every federal prisoner who was convicted of a nonviolent drug offense. I will empty the federal prisons of the people who are no threat to anyone and make room for the violent thugs who are terrorizing our streets. I want to return to the safe, peaceful society in which violent crime is prosecuted and innocent people are free to live their lives in peace. I want people with drug problems to be able to seek help without fear of being arrested. I want your children to be able to play in safe streets and attend safe schools. If we care about our children, if we care about our cities, if we care about our country, we must end this insane war on drugs.